I never thought I would see the day where Sonic Riders 4 would be a thing. Yeah, I know, CrossWorlds is actually the 4th entry in the Sonic Racing series. Shut up, let me have this. Ever since the initial teaser at the Game Awards, hawk-eyed Sonic fans were quick to notice the Extreme Gear hoverboard in the background, which has since been confirmed to be an Easter egg courtesy of Sonic Team. And when we finally got confirmation Extreme Gears will be in the game via the proper reveal trailer, the community exploded with joy. Like, there was legit excitement for when we were getting a Riders-focused arc in the IDW comics that wrapped up, get this, literally 6 days after the aforementioned Game Awards teaser, low-key hinting at its return. Not to mention, Frontiers directly referenced lore from this game, Team Sonic Racing, and Shadow 05 in the Eggman memos, therefore teasing all of Sonic Team's projects for the next 3 years. A bold move. They also teased one of the new tracks in CrossWorlds almost a whole dang year before we actually seen it in-game. You have me suspicious of every single thing you post now. And almost as soon as Sonic Unleashed got its unofficial PC port via recompiled, there were already mods that gave Sonic and Tails their gloves, shoes, and goggles from Riders. Even Wave and Jet character swaps. I also can't forget to mention the outstanding work that was put into making Free Riders playable without a Kinect before we even knew about CrossWorlds. The Sonic community is crazy ambitious, and I'm blown away with what they're able to accomplish. You guys have my deepest level of respect. But anyway, before IDW, CrossWorlds, and several mobile games came along and gave Riders, characters, and elements more of a dedicated spotlight, the series was largely buried alive after 2010's Free Riders. Yeah, exclusivity deals weren't kind to Sonic in the 2010s. With the rest of the 2010s consisting of a slight cameo from Jet in the Generation's secret trophy room, and Riders characters playable in the Mario and Sonic Olympic games. So, with the resurgence of Sonic Riders content, and in preparation for the Extreme Gear racing style in CrossWorlds, I took it upon myself to finally play Sonic Riders, merely as a practice run to see what all the excitement was about, cause when it comes to Sonic Riders, at least the first one, I hear nothing but good things about it. I also finished Zero Gravity, but that'll have its time to shine soon enough. Regarding Free Riders, and even though the game is fully playable with a controller via emulation mod, the game was still built with a Kinect in mind, so I don't know. We'll see what happens with that one. But without further ado, let's get into Sonic Riders 1. Okay, right off the bat, this intro is so dang cool. It shows off the style and coolness Sonic had in the 2D space, fresh off of Sonic X, as well as the overall confidence Sonic Team had before the disaster of Sonic 06 9 months later. I've seen this intro so many dang times over the years, and it's still just as good as when I first saw it. And I know it's not a prologue like Divergence or Dark Beginnings, but this was commonplace for PS2 era games. Either when you boot up the game or you stay on the main menu for a minute, these special animations would play, and it's just something that sticks with the player forever. Shadow the Hedgehog, Crash of the Titans, and even Ty the Tasmanian Tiger Free are some of the examples that immediately come to my mind on this console. Upon starting a new game, we're greeted to yet another intro of the CGI variety.
There! What's that?
Sonic! The emerald's over there!
Still one of the coolest CGI intros in the series, as Sonic's using an Extreme Gear for the first time, weaving through traffic. But am I crazy, or does the voice direction in this game feel more stilted than anything before or after this? At least for Sonic or even Tails at certain points?
Sonic, don't worry, I'll unlock the secret of the Extreme Gears for us.
Okay, I know I can't be the only one who thought this delivery was a bit weird. Maybe it comes down to animation timing, but Considering Jason Griffith had already voiced the Blue Blur in Sonic X for roughly 2.5 years, and Shadow 05 prior to this game's release, it's kinda off-putting, especially when Sonic X's third season was still airing new episodes up until a few months after Riders came out. So, out of curiosity, here's a clip of a Sonic X episode that came out the same month as Riders, up against one of the odd instances in the game.
The Marmalims gave me these charms to protect me when I try to save their world.
All right! Now we're talking!
Now I know I'm not going crazy. But the point of me making that comparison isn't to discredit the game's line deliveries, as a lot are done very well. It's just, when an odd one stands out, it really stands out. But, seeing as I'm already on the topic of cutscenes, I do want to say that these have the most personality Sonic cutscenes have ever had. Yes, I understand that might be a hot take given these are PS2 era graphics, compared to Unleashed, Frontiers, or Shadow Gens, but those mostly just fall under cool and expressive. What I'm talking about here are moments and scenarios that feel like they were ripped straight out of a Sonic X episode. Most of these you've probably already seen at some point or another, simply due to the meme potential they've carried. Such as Jet daydreaming about treasure, him getting bored listening to one of Wave's drawn-out speeches, Amy getting mad at Sonic and she starts chasing and hitting him with her hammer. Dude, you're way faster than her.
What are you doing?
These are the types of moments I'm talking about, that many Sonic games afterward just never really did, aside from Zero Gravity and Unleashed. Yeah, we're getting back to a point where character expression is becoming more important again, but really, if we can have the type of expressions this completely normal Amy cutscene had, yeah, we'll be golden. Anyway, getting back on the racetrack, the story starts with Team Sonic arriving in Metal City, tracking down a Chaos Emerald, cause of course they are. It's not a Sonic story without them. I know, they're still technically in those games, so shut up and stop interrupting! Now when they find it, we're introduced to 3 new characters for the first time. Jet the Hawk, Wave the Swallow, and Storm the Albatross. This group of treasure hunters, sometimes thieves, are direct rivals and even reflect each member of Team Sonic. Jet being the leader, though more hot-headed and short-tempered than Sonic, always up for competition and riding the wind. Wave is the more level-headed and smart one, becoming a rival to Tails after making fun of his gear, though still having a level of respect for him. Storm's the stronger but dumber member of the group. Being a rival to Knuckles, it's clear who's the smarter and more capable one. Storm and Wave typically get into arguments, often feeling like siblings in this regard, with Jet not being very tolerable of it and has to break it up cause it gets on his nerves pretty quickly. Kind of the polar opposite of Team Sonic, as they always seem to get along no matter what. I don't know. There's sort of a family dynamic and energy here that I really enjoy when they're all in the same room, or whenever one decides to leave the room.
Bring something back, or don't return at all!
Yes, sir!
Ah! Ah!
They had already beaten Team Sonic to the Emerald, and after a high-speed pursuit, Jet knocks Sonic off the board and they get away. Team Sonic then learn Eggman is holding a Grand Prix.
Not just a race, but a special race to see who's the fastest.
Dude, that's literally what a race is. What are you on about? Yeah, okay, this line has become hilariously infamous because it makes no sense whatsoever. And thanks to this conveniently handy article by lostintranslation.com, we finally figured out this may actually be a translation from Japanese. So the intended line could have been, however, we're not only determining the world's fastest, this time, the races being held are no-holds-barred battles without rules. If you were ever curious about it, there you go, there's your answer. To enter Eggman's Grand Prix, each contestant would have to pay an entry fee of 1 Chaos Emerald, and the winner walks away with them all. Okay, Sonic is obviously a complete idiot for falling for this. Tails doesn't even talk him out of it, and if this was Sonic X, Knuckles wouldn't have taken the decision lightly. Of course Eggman has a plan attached to this, why wouldn't he? This then leads us to our first race in Metal City, and officially the player's introduction to the gameplay, since there's no dedicated tutorial. Well, there is, but I had no idea it was even there, cause it was buried in the menu somewhere, and I only found out about it through a comments section somewhere months after finishing the game. So, for the first time I can remember, I actually had to resort to reading a manual just to understand how to play this darn game, which is already a baffling decision, and probably the actual reason critics panned it so hard. Because really, who's reading these things? Okay, I was, but that's besides the point.
Can't anyone print instruction manuals anymore?
So at this point in time, if you are familiar with Crash Team Racing or Mario Kart, the latter I've never played. So, let that shocking realization sink in, as I don't plan on paying $80 for the latest entry in a series I never bothered playing to begin with. Okay, for your information, I do have a problem with this, but I ain't getting into it here. Then you are probably very familiar with something known as a drifting mechanic from those games, where you hold down the one button to initiate a drift, which can help tackle corners, and the opposite button at the right time to perform a drift boost. In CTR's case, for both the original and nitro-fueled versions, those would be the L1 and R1 buttons on PlayStation. Timing 3 of these boosts correctly would give you significantly more speed upon letting go of the drift button. Well, Sonic Racing games, starting with Riders, actually adopted the drift mechanic, just not the inclusion of drift boosting. It's always been hold drift for as long as possible for bigger boost. Even CrossWorlds does it, though unlike other racers, you don't lose it if colliding with a wall or another racer, so that's nice. But in the case of Riders 1, yeah. It functions pretty similarly around corners, and you do get a decent boost for doing it. However, unlike the drifting in Sonic's other racing games, where drifting is basically the only thing you gotta get good at, drifting is only a step into mastering of this game, because you'll be using it for more than just corners and boosting, such as lining up for better paths, rings to upgrade your gear, or pit stops if you run out of air for the extreme gear. Otherwise, you'll be doing a lot of running instead of hovering. I know critics in particular didn't exactly care for the last thing, but for me, I love it, as it adds an extra layer of skill to the mix. Wait a minute, didn't critics also hate the motorcycle in Days Gone anyway? Chances are, you will be bumping into everything in sight and getting caught in a slipstream with no real idea on how things work right out of the gate. Which is precisely why I had to consult a manual and practice in the 5 available free races before tackling story mode. Here, we have a more generalized breakdown of everything. You have 3 types of characters: speed, fly, and power. Sonic, Jet, Amy, Shadow, E1000R, and Space Channel 5's Ooh La La fall under the speed type. This class is capable of taking grind rail shortcuts, have higher speed caps, and don't handle corners very well. Flight type belongs to Tails, Wave, Cream, Rouge, and Knights. They can take flight-based shortcuts indicated by ramps and accelerator rings.
Using accelerator rings.
These characters generally have more balanced stats compared to everybody else. And finally, power type. Knuckles, Storm, Eggman, E10000G, and Super Monkey Ball's II fall into this camp. And basically, they can brute force themselves past pretty much every obstacle that everyone else would normally have an issue with. And yes, the Sega IP characters have to be unlocked by completing every mission in mission mode. Some of them are simple, like grabbing collectibles, and some are more tricky, like performing a set number of tricks in a single lap. So depending on what character you choose, the more shortcuts are going to open up to you. And later on, once you've gathered enough rings from completed races, you can head over to this totally not doing anything illegal Chow, and purchase a different extreme gear that are capable of combining the capabilities of 2 character types into one, such as boards that allow any speed and power type characters to fly, in addition to their respectful speed and power attributes, effectively doubling the number of shortcuts available to anyone. But if you gold emblem everything in mission mode, you unlock the Chaos Emerald Extreme Gear, allowing Sonic to become Super Sonic. giving him the advantages of all three types: max speed and acceleration, unlimited air, but to make up for that, he does have a depleting ring count, which is harder to refill. Otherwise, he's pretty much the most OP character in the game. Now, did yours truly unlock him? No. I plan on doing it in my spare time, but I just did not have the time to do it for this video, as I had other games in the backlog I wanted to get to, on top of an already hectic schedule, so eventually I will. Now, the extreme gear isn't just limited to hoverboards, they can also be
They're air shoes.
bikes, amongst other things, each with their own benefits, such as higher speed, holding more air, amongst other things. Stats that can be taken even further by collecting so many rings, allowing up to 2 additional upgrades. But fall off the track once, you lose your upgrades, and you gotta start from scratch again. I hope you're quick to adjust to a smaller air supply. Oh, that sounds really dark out of context. I don't know if I should keep that in the video. Okay, I've already brought up air 4 times already, so I might as well go ahead and explain it. Extreme gears are powered by air, and explaining it to me is like Tails trying to explain why the boards float to Knuckles.
Stop! I get it, okay? It just floats, and that's good enough for me.
This is the main catalyst of the gameplay. Without it, you don't float. Simple math. So, in order to keep yourself afloat, and more importantly, fast, you have to always be on the lookout for more opportunities to get more air, which thankfully you can get from item pods, jumping off ramps in turbulence, holding jump before launching off ramps to perform tricks faster without failing, spinning the left stick until it falls off during the QTE sections, taking character and extreme gear specific shortcuts, or by finding pit stops. Now, certain tracks don't have any of these, so in these cases, you have to do everything in your power to keep an air reserve on hand. Managing your air is very important to the core gameplay, because every single action you do consumes it. Simple movement and drifting don't use much, but boosting, attacking enemies, and even spawning tornadoes behind you consume the most. It's sort of a mix between tactical and resource managing, and the only other racer from the time I got that feeling with was Jak X Combat Racing. A game I barely ever bring up on the channel, despite being one of my top favorite racing games of all time. So I'm glad I can finally bring it up for the sake of this comparison. It also came out 4 months before Sonic Riders, so this actually works out. In various parts of Jak X tracks, you have to choose between one of 4 item types that are presented to you at any given time. Green Eco restores vehicle health, Blue Eco fills up the boost gauge, while the Yellow and Red Ecos give you the weapons to use behind and ahead of you, which can be upgraded with enough Dark Eco from destroying other vehicles. You have to decide in that moment which one is more important and how to best utilize it. Same for the air system in Riders. And sometimes, it's even beneficial to have someone else in front of you so you can take advantage of their turbulence to reach a shortcut and get ahead of them to bring you closer to refilling your air supply, especially in the case of Dark Desert. Which, man, these tracks are awesome. Not just in terms of our layouts, which I've already kinda touched upon, but there's paths that I still don't know how to reach, and directly feeds into that mainline Sonic formula of you outright sucking on your first playthrough and vastly improving your runs every time until you felt that you've mastered the stage. Usually, racing games play by their own sets of rules for getting better and partially relying on item randomness to achieve victory. Something the CrossWorlds beta had a severe imbalance with. Yes, I love being in first place than getting 100 items thrown at me right at the finish line. Joy. This problem has definitely been addressed in the open beta and most definitely the final product. But here, it feels like it's all skill-based, with items not taking up too much of a presence, with attacks and attack items only reaching to just outside the character's arm reach, but just enough to screw somebody up and get a bit of a speed boost. Okay, I got sidetracked there, but what I was saying about the tracks is they're visually awesome. Yeah, if you pause the game at a random point, the textures are going to look off, but it's a PS2 game, I can look past it. It's like the saying goes, graphics don't matter so long as it's fun. But yeah, it's pretty satisfying to race through traffic in a futuristic city. The Egg Factory, though frustrating due to how dark it is a really fun track. Sega Carnival is only unlocked after getting gold in the game's Grand Prix mode. Such a cool track for paying homage to Sega's most iconic IPs. Sand Ruins is right up there with Arid Sands from Sonic Unleashed as one of the best desert stages in Sonic history. Normally, I'm a sucker for snow and ice stages, and there is one here, but there's always something alluring about the mystery a desert provides and the music that accompanies it. In this case, it's accompanied by this techno sound to it. Somebody give these guys an award for the soundtrack. This is top notch. I don't care if it's 20 years too late, just do it. And I ain't even talked about the alternate variants in Jet Story. My gosh, these are better than Sonic's versions. We actually get to play through the CGI intro in Night Chase with police cruisers. Ice Factory, there it is. Top 3 track in the game, thank you Sonic Team. Dark Desert features a solar eclipse, so these guys were cooking! Okay, but where was this during Sonic's story? Clearly one of them has to be true, it can't be both. There's the final stages, with Jet's version being called Sky Road, making it the first of 3 stages sharing the title throughout the series. The second being Lost World, and the third in Team Sonic Racing and CrossWorlds. I will admit that is a bit strange in a series that tends to avoid name reuse, but okay. Even stranger, it did get a reference in one of the Shadow of the Tomb Raider DLCs,
Sky Road,
which funnily enough had a solar eclipse as a heavy part of that game's marketing. Not gonna lie, these are the hardest stages in the game. You literally cannot screw up on either of these, or you might as well hit restart. The game expects you to master every mechanic to get through these 2 specifically. Otherwise, you're gonna fall off a bunch of corners if you miss shortcuts or turbulence and attempt drifting. In the case of Jet, you absolutely have to take the shortcut near the start via max charge jumping off a ramp, or you do not stand a chance regardless of how many other shortcuts you take.
Oh well, guess this was just a wasted effort. Too bad, really. I haven't the slightest interest in world domination or advanced technology.
He said it. He said the thing from his theme song. After multiple races from both sides, some sabotaging to Sonic's board, Jet unfairly wins the Grand Prix, all the Chaos Emeralds, and the treasure he seeks. Which, dun dun dun, Eggman set up so he could snag the Tesseract Jet's been holding on to. Somebody call the Avengers. Oh, we got the Justice League instead, dang it. Both teams chase after Eggman as he switched from Eggmobile to this. I'm sorry, I cannot take this seriously. Whoever animated this clearly knew what they were doing and just how stupid this looked, and I love it. Sonic and Jet pursue after him, Sonic wins, Amy gets caught in the crossfire, and Sonic says, "I'm here," 16 years before it was cool.
I'm here!
Jet doesn't take too kindly to Sonic winning and giving him the key back, as he'd rather have a fair and square victory instead of Sonic just handing it over to him. So he tries to give it back to him, but Wave takes it and they go for the treasure, while Sonic unfortunately suffers Amy's wrath. The door opens. Jeez, I thought the PS1 anniversary theme came back to PS5. The Guardian awakes, and it's a genie. Interesting. 2 Sonic games released almost exactly 1 year apart, and they both feature a genie as the final boss. Okay, I know he's called Erasure Jin, but come on, they're the same dang thing. During the only boss fight in the entire game, you have to race to his bottle 3 times to win. While doing so, you can hit your teammates even though you're working together. The track will change from this reddish nightmare with an intact full-blood moon into an alternate version track on the fly. Wait, was this essentially the groundwork for CrossWorlds, with Shadow Generations being a more recent testing ground for it? We've definitely seen this happen before in the Ratchet and Clank series, where Crack in Time introduced 2 segments where you can jump between past and present. 2 generations later, and Rift Apart felt more like a fine-tuned and properly used version of that. I'll say it again, Sonic Team really cooked on the track designs and locales. They're doing the same for CrossWorlds, and it really gives me hope for the next open zone Sonic game. Anyway, after beating the Guardian, the treasure is revealed, only for Eggman to sneak in and get the drop on everyone. Now, what's hilarious about this scene is, Eggman's original plan for this treasure is already falling apart, and he's slowly realizing it.
Undoubtedly, this carpet will be in high demand from all around the world, but what's this? No way! I went to the trouble of holding the World Grand Prix for this? I can't believe I just wasted my time for this piece of junk!
Again, this scene exemplifies what I meant when I say this game's story often feels like a Sonic X episode, in the best way possible. The treasure turns out to be a flying carpet made out of the same material in the Extreme Gears, which means Jet, Wave, and Storm are descendants of genies. Somehow, don't ask me how.
Our ancestors were space aliens. History remembers them as genies.
Whatever.
Though the lore implications of their ancestors inspiring Sonic's version of the Arabian Nights in Secret Rings would actually make sense. Even more so since in the CGI intro to Secret Rings, we see a palace raising into the sky from the desert just like in Riders. And behind a sealed door is a genie we have to fight. Though obviously there's others like Shara in Secret Rings who actually does get referenced in CrossWorlds, but that's besides the point, and I do wish they could have included it in the official timeline we now have for the series. But after all that's said and done, everyone goes their separate ways, but not before Sonic and Jet signify their rivalry like we've seen between Sonic and Shadow time and time and time and time again, all set to a cool theme song for Jet. And that's it, that's the end of the game. I kinda went into this game expecting a mostly similar racing experience to other racing games, but I walked away amazed by what it accomplished. I was addicted to the gameplay, charmed by its story and cutscenes, and I grew to appreciate Jet's band of misfits more than just by reading the IDW comics alone. So, I'm kinda mad at myself for skipping out on this game for 20 years. Younger me would have loved it, and I had a PS2, so there was no excuse. But I only ever seen Zero Gravity locally, so that could explain things. Hopefully this and Zero Gravity do get added to PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Store at some point. That would definitely be a way to hype up that part of CrossWorlds, which after experiencing this game and the open beta for CrossWorlds, I'm definitely more excited than I ever was. Oh wait a minute, there's also the multiplayer component that I couldn't get anyone to play with. Shame. So, let's go ahead and check out Survival Mode. Get a Chaos Emerald and pass through gates while carrying it within a time limit to score. Okay, that doesn't sound too hard. Well, that went about as smooth as crunchy peanut butter. Let's try a battle stage. Fight off your rivals to survive. Okay, I'm used to battle modes in these games, so this should go well. Okay, how do I hit somebody again? What? I've been going in circles for 4 whole minutes, why can't I get near anybody? Okay, I clearly need more time to practice this. On that note though, that's my time with Sonic Riders 1, but what did you guys think about the game? Have you played it? Have you not played it, but have always been interested? What's your favorite track and character? And has playing this game made you more excited for the Extreme Gear style in CrossWorlds? Be sure to leave it all down in the comments section below, and also be sure to subscribe and ring that bell for more Sonic content. Once again, I've been BlueKnight. Thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and until next time, keep on riding.